Yeah, I've seen that. Yep. Being 6 o'clock, welcome you all to our July 7th Yankton County Commission meeting, starting at 6 o'clock. I'd like to ask you to stand, remove any of your lids, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome everyone. Patty, would you please take roll?
Dan,
Here.
Don,
Here.
Wanda, here, Ryan. It's right here. John,
Here. This time, do we have any financial conflicts of interest by any of our commissioners?
I do not.
I don't.
I do not. Approval of our agenda.
Mr.
Dan, you want to
Chair.
make some changes?
Yeah, I'd like to add, we need to change the date for the second meeting in September because of county convention. So I'd propose that we would move that day from,
Is that on the agenda?
well, we're adding it to the agenda to take action. From, it would be the 15th and the auto recommends moving it to the 17th of September.
You don't have to make a motion for that.
Okay, we'll just add it onto the
Yeah.
agenda. And then also executive session for personnel. So and then we're also deleting item 12. Is that correct, Patty?
Yes,
So with those corrections, I'd move approval of, well, where did you want to add changing the date at? Did you want to add it just?
we can do it at the end or with the county, the commissioner updates if you want.
Or do it in number 12?
Yeah, let's just move that to 12.
Okay.
Okay. So move approval with those corrections.
Second.
Got a motion by Dan, second by Wanda to accept the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now's the time for public comment. Public comment is a time for persons to address this body on any subject. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak. There shall be no personal attacks against members of this body, county staff, individual, or organizations. The chair has the authority to enforce this policy. Failure to adhere to these rules may result in forfeiture of the remaining speaking time. Do we have anyone on the list for public comment? Anybody wish to speak at public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Tom Stanich, you are up for,
Welcome.
you have the floor.
Thank you for having.
When I turn the mic on. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. This is my second county commission meeting today. I was.
So you're very well
Yeah,
versed.
this is the important one.
He's
So,
also pretty skinny.
yeah.
Thank you.
Hand up for you.
Thanks, Don.
Sandra Barkley. Well, it came from Sandra. Couldn't open it, didn't try. Sent it back, can't open.
So I'm here today to review Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Services for Yankton County residents and to ask for your continued support that Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Services serves 7 counties, 6 counties in addition to Yankton County. All of the counties support us financially. And I'll try to help you understand a little bit about where that support goes or how your support helps residents of Yankton County. That probably the first thing that I need to say is that this has been a really momentous year for Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health. Next week, we'll have been in our new facility for a year. The new facility dramatically improved our ability to provide crisis care, and we'll talk about that in a little bit and the implications that has for Yankton County. The data that I'm going to give you today is from this last fiscal year. It's for 11 months because we didn't have all of June in it, but for most of that period of time, we were in the new facility. Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Services provides services in southeastern South Dakota to 7 counties, as I had indicated, with about 200 staff. And I think you all know that probably over the past probably 7 years that our focus has really been on developing our crisis care capacity. And that really came to full bloom this last year when we were able to move into our new facility. So this gives you just kind of a rundown of Yankton County residents by service area this last fiscal year. Outpatient mental health and SUD treatment, we saw 2,341 residents from Yankton County. School-based prevention, 450 students. Those are all 6th graders and 9th graders in the Yankton Public Schools. Inpatient substance use treatment program, and that's a 30-day program, 79 individuals. Clinically monitored detox, 40 residents from Yankton County. And then crisis care, 1,231 individuals. So when you think about that, that's more than 3 individuals from Yankton County a day that we're managing. Yankton County residents represent more than 50% of the individuals that we serve. That turning specifically to crisis care services, for Yankton County residents, we had a total of 1,231 contacts of core admissions, meaning residential stabilization, individuals who we actually admitted for an overnight stay were 622, and unique individuals there was 265. Of those, there were a total 109 pediatric admissions kids.
Doc, is that under 18 or how is that classified?
Under 18, would be 17 or less.
Is that included in the 265 total?
It would
Number?
be, yeah.
Okay, so that's a significant number of kids that you're seeing as far as.
It would be included in the total admissions. It'd be included in the 622 because there may be kids that were admitted twice. This gives you an idea of the admission types and the legal status of those admissions, but the adult crisis care, mental health crisis care, 78%. Adult substance use for detox, 12%, and then pediatric crisis care is 10%. That legal status, 82% were voluntary, and 18% were involuntary in terms of mental illness commitments. And one of the things that we've seen happening, and that is very significant for the county, is that people are being admitted voluntarily and they're not having to be petitioned and committed, which means the county really has no involvement then and no financial responsibility. That when we looked at the visits to Sacred Heart ED the year prior to when we opened the core services in the year afterwards, there was a 75% reduction in visits to the ED with a primary behavioral health concern. Average daily census is 2.4 clients, and the average length of stay is 2.3 days. Questions about that?
So that to me would mean, you know, a decrease in the county's responsibility and property tax and savings for our taxpayers by having that.
And I'll show you how. I'll explain to you how. So discharge disposition, that 77% of the individuals who we admit go home. They're turned around in the same day. 8% go on to Avera behavioral health, 3% HSC, 1% to jail, meaning that the individual is violent and we can't manage them. 10% go on to inpatient substance use treatment, and less than 1% need to go essentially to Sacred Heart Hospital because of a medical condition that we can't manage. And and you have to understand that that's taking anybody that walks through the door. There's no pre-screening. They're evaluated when they come in, and if we can't take care of them medically, then we would then send them to the hospital. Okay, this is the cost avoidance for the county, and it's really hard to quantify all of the cost avoidance for the county. However, I'm going to try to do that and help you understand where some of that cost avoidance occurs. Certainly, the increased access to voluntary residential crisis stabilization is a huge component. That there was certainly a time that if somebody needed a higher level of care, the only way of getting them that care would be to do a petition, mental illness petition. And so clearly that's reducing the number of mental illness petitions that have to be done in the county. And the county is then not in any way responsible. There's been a decrease in the utilization of emergency departments for behavioral health care, emergency care that could potentially be charged to the county. A decrease in medical hospitalization for detox. If somebody's detoxed in Sacred Heart Hospital, that's done in ICU, which can be quite expensive. And there are some people that continue to need that level of medical detox. However, it does occur. They're there for probably less than a day, and then we can take them. So it'd be a very, very short period of time. Certainly decrease in admissions to the Human Services Center and other inpatient facilities. Decrease in law enforcement time. Law enforcement can give somebody a ride, drop them off at CORE, and they're gone in 15 minutes. Had police officers ask if they've done something wrong because they were told to leave in 15 minutes. And then certainly decrease in the hospital admissions for detox. The thing that I think is really, really important that the commission understands is that the county is responsible for the costs for pre-commitment hearing costs. So for that 5 days, 6 days, 7 days prior to mental illness commitment, the county is potentially responsible for those costs. Because the state is funding this crisis care option regionally, that they are essentially assuming those costs by doing that. That's the cost avoidance. And I can't put a total dollar value on it, but I guarantee you it's more than what you're funding Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Services. So looking ahead, we're opening a women's and children's residential program in August. If you've seen the building by Westside Park, that building's being built by Avera Sacred Heart Hospital, and then we'll run a program there in coordination with Sacred Heart Hospital. Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health is also in the process of expanding outreach services. One of the things that will be significant for the county and for law enforcement is that part of that is going to include a mobile crisis team where we'll have some ability to respond in the community for crises so law enforcement can't, or we'll be able to assist law enforcement when they do that. So questions?
You have a question on that. I think it's a positive thing, and I think these women and kids definitely need a place to go to get the help they need. My concern is juvenile detention. If we're getting people, really from across the state that are moving, and they probably haven't had the best home life, and that's why mom is getting the help she needs. I'm hoping that we don't get a huge uptick in juvenile detention.
I don't think you will, because you're really looking at younger kids,
Okay.
and in many instances, you're looking at infants.
Okay.
If you can imagine being a mother
Mhm.
and needing substance use treatment and having to make a decision of leaving your young child versus getting the treatment that you need, that's really what it's designed for.
Okay.
And
John, do we have a projection of what the average age of those kids might be?
they're going to be under 12.
Under 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Is there any estimated length of stay for that family? Do we?
So
have
it's a
any idea?
program where they may stay up to a year.
Okay.
It's a extended treatment program. It's really designed for individuals to help them get on their feet, remain sober, employment, education, childcare, all of those things. So it's really something that's desperately needed in the state.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
other questions? Okay, here's the budget request for this year. We're asking counties for 3%. And so we're asking for $108,183. And that's in the packet I handed you.
Should be increase of 3% from last year.
Questions?
What do the other 6 counties provide budget-wise?
I was just at Douglas County this morning, and they contribute 7,000, which is probably relatively speaking pretty
Comparative,
comparative.
based on the number of people they have.
The larger counties, Charles Mix County, Union County, Clay County, give probably in the neighborhood of $25,000. So it's really relatively equivalent population wise.
And would you say that Yankton County has the majority of usage?
As I indicated, yes, the majority of individuals served are in Yankton County.
Onto what you said as well, if we didn't have this crisis center and people couldn't get the care that they need, then they're in our jail or they're being committed involuntary, and that's all on our dime now. If they can get in and get the help they need sooner and get on with their lives, that's much more affordable than having them in our jail or involuntary committed in.
Yeah, and I don't know if the county, Rob, I don't know if you have the data, but certainly we know that the number of hearings are certainly a lot less than what they were 4 or 5 years ago. And
Yeah, I don't have, but they're a lot less.
and
I have the honor of sitting on that Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Board for quite a few years. And it's it's really pleasing to go to a meeting and get recognition from statewide organizations on our leadership. And that's Tom.
it's a board that's willing to do some things and take some rest, so, which we have. Other questions?
Thank you. We appreciate what you do for the community, Dr.
Thank you. Okay.
Next up, we have Sheila Cross from South Dakota Fit.
Welcome.
Hello there.
Gary, you might have to.
Oh, you got that.
You can attend a we kind of keep moving here.
Yeah,
It's blinking up there.
we'll have to deduct that from Dr. Sanage's
Yeah.
request for
Yeah.
checking our system.
Let's go through it
Okay.
with that if you guys want.
Keep working on it, Gary. Maybe try again in a few minutes.
Well, thank you for having me here. As you mentioned, my name is Shayla Kloss and I'm from Miller. I have 20 years experience with county and city government.
Were you pulled up?
I'm too short for that, yeah. Plus I lost my voice. This is my third meeting for today, so I woke up with not much voice anyway. So yes, I have been doing city and county government for a little over 20 years, and then I retired and I got called back in to work with South Dakota Fit. So South Dakota Fit it was started 35 years ago by the cities of Burke, Lead, and Sioux Falls. And works just with South Dakota government entities, cities, counties, schools, and their subdivisions of each of those. So I'll just kind of do a high level for time purposes, and then if you want more questions on what I have given you there. Our goal is not to replace your local bank, it is to complement your local bank, and that's a big fear a lot of people have, is we don't want to take our money from local. All money with South Dakota Fit has to stay by codified law within the state of South Dakota. So we follow codified law very closely. We are able to invest in your treasuries, US securities, and then also CDs or the money market. We have 35 years. Oh, there we go. 253. Do you have the? Okay. 253 current participants. We have a 9 people on the board. 3 of those are from the county. We have Kelly Woolman from Lake County, Thomas Olivia from Hughes County, and Dwayne Peterson from Sanborn as our board chairman. We will do every dollar. One of the counties I was at today is a lot smaller, but what we can do to help them is pretty significant compared to the savings accounts currently at local bank. The fund is managed by PTMA Services. They have been managing it for over 28 years. And our first line of person management is Angie Stillwell. She was the one that helped me when I got started with South Dakota Fit, and she has been managing the South Dakota Fund for 25 years. So you've got excellent history with PTMA behind that. They do the investment advisory services, they administer the fund, they do all the marketing, and then we also do fixed rate investments for you. Our goal is to help you when you're safeguarding your public funds, make sure it's invested wisely, make sure you have liquidity, and then make sure you're compliant with all of your laws that we have for South Dakota. South Dakota is one of the hardest states to invest for government entities. And this is your limit. We have your money market fund pools, which South Dakota Fit is the only one in South Dakota that is a local government investment pool. There's your US treasuries and agency securities, CDs, and those can be either FDIC insured or collateralized. And I'm going to go into, this is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that you can only invest for a maximum of 18 months as a government entity, unless it's like for bond proceeds or something. We'll get into that in just a little bit. And then also we need to have a county investment policy and follow that as well. And it has to go in line with the state. Our priorities are safety. These are taxpayer dollars. We are not going to risk anything with those. Liquid, as we're seeing in Highmore and Huron from this last week, when there's an emergency, you need to have your funds available. And then yield, I'm not quite sure why it looks like that, but our yield is our third. It's very important, but it comes after safety and liquidity. What South Dakota Fit does is we have a money market. That's daily liquidity. If you request funds either in or out today by 3 o'clock, it's in your account tomorrow morning. We do short-term investments, long-term investments, again, based on codified law up to 18 months. Bond proceeds management is huge. That's what got me started as South Dakota Fit, was when we had a bond. And then again, we complement our local banks. Credit risk scale. Treasuries are the least risk. Then you got your U.S. agency treasury for securities, your money market accounts, your insured CDs, and then your collateralized CDs. Those are the highest risk. And as far as liquid, money market is your most liquid. Treasury, if you need that money that we have invested in a treasury, we can sell it today and get your funds to you right away too. U.S. agency securities are about as quick as the treasuries, and then your CDs. If you cancel them early, there will be a penalty for early withdrawal. My little pig is gone. Yesterday and today, our money market rate was 3.30%. That is based on the market. We don't change that, willy-nilly. It is definitely based, it follows the market. It'll go up and down by a 0.01 or 0.02 a day. But it was 3.3 again today. It's been staying right around that basically since the last Federal Reserve drop. No minimum dollar amount in the fund, and it's going to sit there until you need it. Again, daily liquidity. If you need to put it in today, take it out tomorrow, you can do that. So actually I had one entity put money in, and then she realized she had a bond payment, so she took it back out the same day. There's no charge for that. You move them in and out by ACH, quick, easy way to do it online. Or else you can call or email us, but by the time you pick up the phone and call us, you could have it done. It's such a quick process. Again, unlimited transactions in and out. ACH, if you have a request by 3 o'clock today, those monies will be where you've sent them the next morning. If you do need to wire, it's 10 o'clock deadline today for a wire for money today. We do not charge a wire fee, but your local bank probably will. This is just a quick interest earnings chart, but I'm going to do a real life. I'm also a finance officer, and I gave my board last night our first 6 months overview of our investments. And I opened an account for a very small city in the end of February. And by the end of June, we'd earned almost enough more interest from last year to pay for my salary for the year. So that's a good way to kind of look at how it is. Granted, it's a small town, but we've made almost $12,000 in interest just in 4 months. So that's only with $500,000. So that's very small investment compared to what most people can do, but very meaningful for the small towns. Again, bond proceeds management is what got me started with South Dakota Fit. When I started as a finance officer, I inherited a bond project that was way overspent. It was a mess. And so when we went to do phase 2, Toby Morris from Colliers said, why don't you try South Dakota Fit? I'd never heard of them. And it was amazing. Night and day difference. They took care of everything. They contact your contractors, your engineers. They set up a spending schedule so that they can invest. So if your projects, this is where it could be over 18 months. If you have like a 2 or 3 year project, they can invest that money out and have it come to maturity about the time that payments were going to be due for the project. So they work very closely. In doing this, they track your arbitrage And they also make sure, you know, you don't have any IRS penalties from earning too much interest because your money's sat there too long. This is a statement of a bond that you would get. And basically the interesting information here is more towards the second to the bottom, where it shows that your estimated interest would be 4.9 million. And your anticipated arbitrage is 1.3. That means you're going to make about 1.3 more than what the government would allow. But as long as you follow those spend downs of 10% within the first 6 months and, you know, the 45% and that's something that we monitor for you when you have a large bond project. We make sure you're following those. And if you're getting close to the end of that 6 months and you've only spent 8%, you're going to lose that 13 or 1.3 million back to the IRS. We'll call you and you'll say, can you get some more engineering fees? Can you get some supplies brought in and dropped in your property and paid for so that you don't lose that? So we watch that very closely for you so that you don't have to. Real quick, easy to set up. We just need a resolution by the board. We need a investment policy. We have a sample one on our sdfit.org website. After we get that stuff returned, we can set them up with an online GPS. You can have people set up to view, and you can have people set up to actually move the funds. What we would do after we get all that is we would work with the county and we'd say, okay, what do you want? How much do you want to invest out long term? We like to ladder, so things come due like every 3 months if that's what you need, or 6 months. You know, we want to make sure the money is there when you need it. We'll invest longer term as time goes on, or we can leave it all in the money market for you. It's whatever each county or each government entity needs. So that's where we want to work closely one-on-one with each client of ours. That was a really quick overview. Again, our goal is safety, liquidity, and we always want to get the best we can for your money. We want to understand your county cash flows so that we can do the best for you. Diversify your investments, because if it's all just sitting in a local bank, it's not going to do the best for you. Again, we want to make sure your investment policy is up to date. I did get one not too long ago that was in 1971. So let's make sure it's a little more recent than that. So we work obviously with many other counties and cities and schools throughout the state.
How many counties and cities do you work with across the state? Do you know?
Well, there's 253
Yeah.
entities right now between counties, cities, and schools.
What is your fee?
There is no fee, but what we do is, so what we would quote you like that 3.3% money market, we are probably getting treasuries at 3.4. So we'd have like that 0.1, that's what covers our cost. So there would not be an actual fee that you would ever see. It's because whatever we quote you for your investments or your money market is the money that you get.
Are those money markets government insured?
They don't have to be because they're all US treasuries, so they're all backed by the US government already. They don't have the $250,000 limit like your local bank. It's basically the same insurance as your local bank, only there's not the limit because we buy a treasury in your name. So if anything happened to a PTMA or South Dakota Fit, that treasury is still in your name. It's not ours. It's not South Dakota Fit. It's yours.
Do you have any estimate, like for Yankton County, on how much, more interest we could be earning with you than what we are now? Do you have?
I have not received any information to know what you're getting for current interest rate, but that's something that I could work on.
0.5.
Pardon? 0.5?
0.5.
Oh, well,
I've been beating this drum for 3 years
3.3 is significantly more than 0.5.
and I had 4.25.
And if we want to do a long term, we're getting up closer to that 4, but that money market is 3.3. So, yeah. I know my local bank was giving us a 0.04 when I first, which is why I switched to South Dakota Fit. It's like, I was getting $15 a year practically, so to go from that to 12,000 is pretty impressive. Any more questions?
And you make this easy for the staff to work with you, and it's not really an additional task or expense or time for them. It's, you know, you handle most of those. or
We want,
most-
we want to do that initial visit to see what works best for you, and then after that, we'll take care of it. As an investment comes to maturity, we'll call like a week before and say, okay, this is coming to maturity. Do you want to throw it in the money market and take it for something, or do you want us to reinvest it? And we just do it.
Have you found treasurers to be uncooperative?
Well, the ones that have a zero balance, they just don't like change. But it's very easy. Once they get using it, it's quicker than, I had one that was like going down to, you know, they'd have to write a check and take it down to the bank. You don't have to do that. You can just go in here and in 2 minutes, you've got it transferred from one account to the other, you're done. So it's much quicker, much easier to utilize than writing out that check. I know Trail is just as easy. It's just another bank account in your chart of accounts, so.
Well, I think it just makes sense to move forward with this, and if, are you on board with doing something like this, Wanda, or?
I've been on board with it for 3 years and we've lost a couple $100,000 because we had a treasurer that was not interested in participation.
So we have to adopt a board policy and resolution and do an investment policy. Would you, Wanda, would you be willing to, with your, and you'd assist, right? Do a resolution and an investment policy, and I guess bring it back and we'd have to approve it at another meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You want me to write it up or the state's attorney's office?
I would say work
We
with
have it,
everybody.
send it to you, you get
Okay.
it approved.
And Gary, if you'd be involved in that too, and then send it out to us, yeah, I
Yeah.
just, in my opinion, if we can have the taxpayer dollars working harder for Yankton County, I think it's our responsibility to make
Yes.
sure that that happens.
And we have talked about this for 3 years.
Okay.
And anything above 0.5 is a gift at this point.
And it's a huge gift. It's amazing the difference.
3.3 is great, but 0.5 is ridiculous.
So you're gonna send a copy of the
We'll send the
resolution?
resolution. We can send it to you, Patty, if you want. We'll send the resolution. The investment policy is on our website. You can just change that however you need to. We really condensed it because they used to be quite cumbersome. Basically, it's getting the auditor and or the treasurer the authority to invest for the best for the county. And then we'll do an application. We can get all those sent to you. And once we get those back, we'll call with GPS instructions on how to get online, and it's very quick. We would walk you through all of that. It's about as simple as you get. And then on the first day of every month, the bank statement is there ready to print off. So it's very, very simple to use. It's something that I personally have been using for about 7 years.
And you offer support if there's a
Oh, for sure.
new person and they don't know how to do it, you can walk them through on the phone.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep,
That's great.
absolutely. Our administrative assistant is amazing. She's just the sweetest thing.
Ever been hacked?
Pardon?
Hacked. Have you ever
No.
been hacked?
We haven't. Knock on wood.
Way to jinx
No.
it, Wanda.
Yeah, let's not do that.
No ransomware?
Soon.
No, not. We have had quite a few entities that have had that, and they keep getting me. I actually got a phishing thing today, a email saying, hey, I've got some mail on my desk for you. And I'm like, I'm not opening that one, because I did that once and I got caught because that was checking my ability to watch my emails a little better. So. But yes, we will be very happy to help every step of the way.
I know, the other board I serve on, the James River Water Board, we just did that and been very happy and seeing, a significant amount more interest, which means we can do more projects, which means we don't have to utilize so many taxpayer dollars. So it's been a positive thing. So,
Are you also on the county commissioner?
yes.
That they've just started that as well.
I had a hand in that. So,
So.
Yep.
You're a good user of it. I appreciate that.
all right. So.
Okay.
we'll
All
get-
right. Well, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, presentation on Senate Bill 96 by Mr. Michael Hodyshell.
Secretary Hody Shell.
Secretary?
Say
Do
what?
we have him on, Gary?
Yeah, good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can definitely hear you.
Can we get him on this screen by chance?
Good luck with that.
Welcome, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, if you can see my screen, I do have a couple of slides that I could show. So is that something that you're able to do there?
We're gonna try to get you hooked up here. Just give us a quick minute.
Sure.
I don't suppose we can log into Teams on this.
Why don't we just go and pray that the slides come up?
Secretary, Howdy Shell, we're not having any luck here, so you wanna just take off with your presentation as is?
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. I can go ahead and get started.
Sure.
So again, my name is Mike Howdyshell. I'm the Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Revenue here in Pierre. And thank you, first off, for giving me a little bit of time this evening to talk about Senate Bill 96. I had talked to Commissioner Klimisch, a couple of weeks ago now. I think it was after your last meeting where there was some discussion on Senate Bill 96. And Commissioner Klimisch had a few questions for me at the time. And I just said, maybe it'd be helpful if I just hopped on a call at your next meeting and hopefully be able to answer any questions that the commissioners may have about Senate Bill 96. Obviously, as you're probably all aware, that was the governor's proposal from this last legislative session to allow counties to impose an optional half-cent sales tax to provide property tax relief for owner-occupied property owners. And it's optional, like I just said. It's up to the county commission to decide whether or not it's something that makes sense for your county. But we're certainly here at the department to help you with any questions that you may have about this new option and, any implementation issues that you might have as you kind of consider whether or not this is the right thing for Yankton County. A couple of just kind of real high level things about Senate Bill 96. It is now in effect. It went into effect on July 1st. We do have a handful of counties that have already started the process of enacting an ordinance. In fact, Meade County last week had a first reading, and they're set to do their second reading of their ordinance a week from today. I think we had two counties, Pennington County and Cottington County, do a first reading of their ordinance today. And then there's at least a couple of other counties that I've heard about that have a draft ordinance ready to go and are just waiting to do their first reading at a commission meeting probably sometime this month yet. So there are counties that are moving forward. The earliest that a county could have a sales tax in place would be January 1 of 2027. Based on the language in the statutes, the county has to enact the ordinance. And then assuming that it's not referred and it goes into effect, the county needs to give the Department of Revenue at least 90 days notice prior to the tax going into effect. But it can only go into effect on January 1st or July 1st. So if this was something that Yankton County decided to move forward with this year yet, we would need to have that notification by October 2nd to be able to have the tax implemented starting on January 1 of 2027. As I mentioned, the tax is up to 0.5%, and all of the proceeds have to be deposited into a special property tax relief fund at the county level. And all of the monies have to be dedicated primarily to owner-occupied property tax relief. And then should there be enough revenues available to completely replace all of the county portion of the property taxes on owner-occupied properties in the county, any remaining monies in the fund would have to be distributed equally to the two other classes of property for further property tax relief for those property owners. We have come up with estimates for every county on how much revenue that we would anticipate a 0.5-cent county sales tax would generate. So if it's something that you all decide to move forward with or want to have a discussion about our estimates, we're certainly glad to do that at any time with the commission to give you a little more background information on how we came up with the estimates and what we would anticipate the sales tax generating for your county. About the mechanics of the tax, this is one of the questions that Commissioner Klemisch said came up at your last meeting when you were discussing this. So the mechanics of the tax would essentially mirror the municipal sales tax. So in other words, anything that would be taxable under the municipal sales tax would be taxable under the county sales tax. And to explain that a little bit further, the municipal sales tax essentially mirrors the state sales tax. So if a good or service is taxable under state law and therefore taxable by municipalities, it would be subject to tax if the counties move forward with this option. On the flip side, if it's exempt under state law from taxation or municipal tax, it would be exempt from county sales tax. One of the most common exemptions is agricultural purchases. So a lot of the goods and services that agricultural purchases providers, excuse me, agricultural producers purchase are exempt from both state and municipal sales tax. They would also be exempt from the county sales tax.
Excuse me, Secretary, we do now have yours. Oh, it disappeared. His slide disappeared.
So
Keep going. We'll try to get it up again.
to
Yep, I'll
reiterate,
continue.
to
So-
reiterate that, then the ag exemption that currently exists, I know that was brought up multiple times at our last meeting. This is Commissioner Clemish, that would not be taxable under this new law, correct?
That is correct. And, you know, similarly with, you know, like medical services, which are currently exempt, you know, advertising services, all agricultural services and products, like I mentioned, products that are purchased by governments, those types of things would be exempt from the county sales tax as well. Another one that's very important is the farm machinery tax. Municipal sales tax does not apply to the purchase of farm machinery. So that would be tractors and implements. This county sales tax would also not apply to the purchase of farm machinery. So I just wanted to make that clear. One of the other questions that came up had to do with how much would we anticipate would be paid by tourists. That's really one of the kind of, you know, appealing things about, you know, looking at this as an option for replacing property taxes for the county, is that we know that a lot of things that are purchased within any given county are by folks that don't necessarily live in the county. We don't have super solid numbers on the amount of taxable sales that are made to tourists across the state. One of the numbers that I've seen before when we've kind of looked at this is we think it's probably around 10% of all purchases in the state are made by visitors. That obviously varies by county, right? The counties that have a lot of tourism are definitely going to probably have a greater percentage, whereas some counties may have a much smaller percentage of tourism activity within their counties. But statewide, we think it's somewhere around 10% of all purchases are made by visitors to our state. The other question that I want to make sure I address before I turn it over to any questions that you all may have is, you know, what is essentially the break-even point? I've had that question, you know, quite frequently. So if the county were to move forward with this, and I'm seeing a reduction in my property taxes, but on the flip side, I'm paying an additional 0.5% when I'm purchasing taxable goods and services in Yankton County, you know, how much do I have to purchase before essentially it's a wash? Well, just kind of a real straightforward example. If I were to see a $500 credit on my property tax bill, if Yankton County were to do this, I would have to spend $100,000 on taxable goods and services to essentially make it a wash. So for every $500 of savings on the property tax bill, I would have to spend $100,000 on goods and services before essentially that savings would be reduced to zero. I don't know about all of you, but I don't spend $100,000 a year on taxable goods and services, not anywhere near that. Most individuals, most households do not spend that much on taxable goods and services. Because if you think about it, most of the things that we purchase on a monthly basis are not subject to tax. You know, my mortgage payment isn't subject to sales tax. My insurance premiums are not subject to sales tax. My car payments, you know, my purchases of motor vehicles are not subject to sales tax. So there's a lot of things that we purchase day to day that already are not subject to sales tax. It's really just, you know, consumable items that I purchase and services, those types of things that I would be paying an additional tax on if the county were to do this. And then just the last thing I wanted to comment on before I would take any questions that you all may have, how much, could a property owner in Yankton County expect to save? So we kind of looked at this county by county, and just using a kind of a hypothetical $325,000 house, that's the average valuation of a single family home in South Dakota today. And if you took that $325,000 house and the estimates for the revenues in Yankton County that we came up with, which would replace 100% of the county owner occupied property taxes. So that $325,000 house would see about a $950 reduction in their total property tax bill. So that's from Senate Bill 96. I do want to mention as well, Senate Bill 96 was part of a package of bills that were passed this last session. The other bill being Senate Bill 245, which kind of tackles the same problem a little different way. And what that bill did is it is going to take the increase in the sales tax that's set to go back into effect next July 1st. So as you may be aware, a couple of years ago, the legislature lowered the state sales tax rate temporarily from 4.5% to 4.2%. That is scheduled to go back up to 4.5% next July. The legislature in Senate Bill 245 dedicated the additional revenue, so that 0.3% increase, any revenue that's generated from that is going to go to lower the property taxes for school purposes for owner-occupied properties. And that's done by lowering the school general fund property tax levy that all owner-occupied properties pay in South Dakota. And so on that same $325,000 house in Yankton County, once that goes into effect, which will be this next year, so for taxes payable in 2027, and you don't have to do anything, that's automatic. That property will see a $547 reduction in the school portion of their property tax bill. So all told, if Yankton County were to move forward with the county sales tax and the reduction in the school taxes, which is automatically going to go into effect next year, that's a total of $1,493 of savings for that $325,000 property in Yankton County.
So
So-
Mr. Secretary,
Yep.
to offset that, what, $1,493, you'd have to spend, is it almost 300,000 in taxable sales to erase that? Is that according to your estimate? Is that what?
Yep,
Okay,
that is.
that's a lot of groceries there, so.
It's a lot of groceries, it's a lot of, it's a lot of haircuts and other types of services. So yes.
Thank you.
So I think, Commissioner Klimisch, I think I went through some of the questions that we talked about. I hope that gives a little more context for the commission. Is there any other questions for me that I could answer tonight?
Got to come up and ask the question.
I think her question was, how much is it for, quote, old people who rent, end quote. I think his answer is unless you spend $300,000, it's not going to be a lot.
So, yeah, so for obviously, both of the proposals or the bills that I talked about are for owner occupied property owners. If you're a renter, you're not going to see the same benefit on the property tax bill because you don't have a property tax bill. So yeah, I mean, that was something obviously the legislature had to consider. But, at the end of the day, I think where, these proposals, gained some traction was that You know, there really was a need in certain parts of the state, I'll just say that, where we've seen very rapid increases in assessed valuations on owner occupied properties to provide some sort of property tax relief for homeowners. And I think that's why this particular proposal, Senate Bill 96, which is an option for counties, ultimately kind of carried the day because it's targeted relief. It may make sense in some counties, it may not make sense in other counties.
So Secretary, at our last meeting, there was a question brought up. Does it have to be 0.05 cents? Could it be 0.02 or 3 or 1 or whatever?
Sure, no, it's a good question. The answer is it can be up to 0.5%. So if the county looks at their estimates and says, you know what, we think we only need 0.2%, you could certainly do just 0.2%. It's very similar to the municipal sales tax. So how that is structured is it's up to 2%. Most municipalities do the full 2%, but we do have some that do, 1.8%, for example. So yes, it's up to 0.5%. You don't have to do the full 0.5%.
And one more question I have is that $950 on a $325,000 home, where is that going to come from to, because I'm assuming that's the county's share of property tax. Where does the county get that back to make sure that we can cover all of our other expenses?
Yep. Yeah, thanks for the question. So the money would come from the sales tax, which it works a little bit differently than property tax. So how it would work is that the retailers would collect the tax and then they would remit it to the Department of Revenue on their sales tax return, just like they do with the state and the city tax. And then twice a month, we would remit that money back to the county based on where that sale occurred. So the retailer, when they make a sale at the Walmart in Yankton, they have to report to us that, hey, this was a sale that occurred in Yankton. And so we know that that money has to be sent back to Yankton, the city of Yankton, or if it was a county tax, the county of Yankton. We send that money back to the locals twice a month. So you would have the cash flow coming into that property tax reduction fund, which then could be transferred into your general fund for your ongoing expenses. The best way to look at it is instead of the money coming in from the property taxes that are paid, twice a year, the revenues would be coming in from the sales tax and being remitted to the county twice a month.
So does then the county take that off your taxes on a monthly basis, or do they wait to April and October?
So where it would be taken off would be on the tax bill. So if you could,
So
I wish
the
you could see
county
my,
would, the
I
county would
wish you could
make,
see my screen because I've got an example of what the tax bill looks like, and I can email this out.
Yeah, we can see it now.
So you can see it now. So this is an example of a tax bill if this credit was in place. So you can see in that green box there. So you have the county levy, the 3.8 mils in this example, and the county taxes on this property would be $884.81. Based on the amount of revenue that's available from the sales tax, this county was able to give a credit that equals $707.85. So it's
so the
it's
short
actually
answer,
it's a
the short
line
answer
item
to
that's
that
taken off
question
the
is
tax
April
bill.
and October.
So as that property owner is making their payments, whether they're making 2 or 1 payment, they are essentially paying less property taxes to the county, but the money is being replaced by the revenue that's coming into to the sales tax fund.
And again, the short answer is April and October.
That's correct. When I get my, when I would get my property tax bill in January,
Yep,
I would have a credit on there, so I would owe less money that tax year on my tax bill.
correct. How
Correct.
much is a 0.5% on a $50 grocery bill?
It's 25 cents. So for every $100 that I spend at the grocery store, that's an extra 50 cents in tax.
You also have a question?
Just wanted to clarify how much it was going to cost.
Okay.
Hey,
One more
Secretary.
thing that I can show you while I've got the screen up, if that's okay.
Go ahead, yes.
I hope that everybody has either seen this document or at least is aware of it. We have put out a guide to county officials that kind of walks through all of the implementation requirements. If you choose to do this, it's got a sample ordinance in it. If you want to take a look at that, and it explains in more detail how the payment information works, how we get the money remitted back to the county. If you were to do this, and then it goes through the different requirements and the timelines that I talked about. There's a link there to our website. You can go directly to this document. And then lastly, there's some contact information in there that you can reach out to our department if you've got any questions.
Secretary?
Yes,
Yes, Representative Julie Auk, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Representative?
Good, good. I just wanted to shortly address for the commissioners, just so they're aware too, this money could also go towards tax incremental financing repayment, correct?
So if there are owner-occupied properties within a TIF district, okay, those properties would also get the credit. So they would get a reduction in their tax bill. However, because those monies typically would flow to the TIF fund, some of these dollars, yes, would go to the TIF fund to make the TIF whole during the life of the TIF. So
And
if there are owner-occupied properties within a TIF district, it is possible that some of these revenues would go to replace property taxes that would otherwise go to the TIF fund. Correct.
okay, and just because we're talking, farm equipment is not taxed with sales tax, but the repairs and parts are. Are they tax exempt?
Parts are.
Can you hear me?
So farm repair parts are subject to both state and local sales tax. So yes, they would be subject to this county sales tax.
And so is the repairs, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? We have another question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you got
State your name.
questions. I'm sorry.
I
Hi,
know, but-
Case Swihart. I don't know if you guys got the list of questions that my husband had brought in, that he was handed in earlier today.
Never got them.
Okay.
I did
One of
not
the-
get one.
What?
I did not get one.
You did not get one. Okay, there was something that was dropped off. I've been in Beresford all day. One of the questions that was asked is owner occupied, and what is the definition of owner occupied in the essence that we have numerous homes, and working for the census, I understand the number of homes out there that are only used 1, 2, 3 weeks out of the year by out-of-state owners. How are those going to be taxed, and what's the situation with that?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a good question. So owner occupied is a property tax classification. The requirements is that you have to own the property. It has to be your primary residence. And it has to be classified as owner occupied by the Director of Equalization. And so it has to be your primary residence. If it's a vacation property, if you have another residence, that is your primary residence. That would not be the types of properties that would get property tax relief through this proposal. So it is truly those residences that are currently classified as owner occupied because it's the primary residence of the owner of that property. And you can only have one.
So is there a way to double check to make sure that someone is not using their owner occupied in, let's say, Iowa and also in South Dakota?
So we don't really have a good way to check what's going on in other states. When you fill out the form to claim owner occupied status, you are swearing under the penalty of perjury that this property is your primary residence. So, you know, that's really kind of the extent of it. There is some verification that happens within, you know, the boundaries of South Dakota to ensure that people aren't double dipping and claiming more than one property that's owner occupied. And there are some penalties in the statute if you know you misrepresent the fact that a property is your primary residence. There are some penalties and consequences that go along with that. But yeah, to the extent that you may have a primary residence in another state, we don't really have good tools to be able to detect that, unfortunately.
Any other questions from the audience?
I guess I got one final question, right? Mr. Secretary, Commissioner Clemish again, last question I got, I know initially this was thought that the county commission could put it on directly on the ballot. There is a little bit of a question of that now, and that I'm sure that'll be cleared up in the next legislative session, but there is a little issue of whether or not a county commission has the authority to place it directly on the ballot. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct. You know, that was definitely the intent in the discussion during session. I do think that probably it should have been a little more explicit in the bill itself. So that's something that we're looking at, probably going in and trying to clarify during the 27 session. You know, currently with opt-outs, there's language in the opt-out provisions that says that the county board of commissioners can directly refer that to a vote. And there probably should have been similar language in Senate Bill 96. So I think it's a relatively easy fix. I think that there's a lot of appetite in the legislature to give county commissions that authority to you know, basically send it directly to the voters if they choose to do this. But having said all that, it still is a referable action of the commission. So, you know, the voters can take out a petition, they can refer it, or they can do an initiated petition as well if they choose to put it to the vote and the commission doesn't take action.
Thank you.
One more time, any questions from the audience?
Keep it under 20 minutes, Gary.
3 minutes.
Try to keep it brief. Mr. Secretary, you alluded to the fact, now I just might need a point of clarification here.
You want to state your name, Gary?
Gary
For our
Moore,
listening audience.
Yankton. You made the comment that, I think, that the money would be placed in a property tax reduction fund twice a month. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the Department of
So
Revenue.
let me ask you this. You can follow up on the whole thing afterwards. That being said, why is it being done that way? Number one. Number two, does that mean that there's going to be more reporting necessary by the businesses who submit the sales tax forms and reports to you on a monthly basis?
So how it'll work on the retailer end is they will just report this tax on their return that they file with the department, whether that's on a monthly basis or some businesses have a different filing frequency. And it'll be reported just like the city sales tax that they report today. Based on what's reported to us on a monthly basis, we will distribute that money back to the county. We do it twice a month with the city. We would do it twice a month with the county. The purpose of the money going into the dedicated fund at the county level is to ensure that the county is utilizing that money for its intended purpose, which is to provide property tax relief for owner-occupied properties. It's not commingled with just the general revenues of the county to be used for whatever. It's a dedicated revenue stream that is, dedicated per state law to lowering owner-occupied property taxes. That's why it was set up that way.
One final question. So when we talk about municipal sales tax, would the county and the city be separate forms, or would they be combined into one form? For instance, for the city who has city sales tax, would the county sales tax be included on that form, or are they going to have to use another form specifically for the county sales tax?
Yep, it's a good question, sir. We would intend to include it all in the same return form. So it would just be an additional line item, basically, or line items on the sales tax return that businesses are currently remitting to the department, just to add in the county sales tax, if any, that's applicable in your area. Yep.
But you don't have that form ready so that an individual could take a look at it yet, do you?
We don't have the form finalized yet, but we will have that done here in the next couple of months. No county can do this until January 1st, so we have a little bit of time. But it's certainly something that we should have available here, if not, next couple of months, certainly by this fall.
And I realize a lot of people do online on their sales tax now, so that makes it a little simpler for some, but maybe more complex for others who still use paper. So, I'm just kind of curious as to how that whole thing's going to be implemented, but I think that kind of clarifies the situation a little bit better for me. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
This is Commissioner Heine. I would like to add a short comment on that. Do you hear me?
I can hear
yes,
you.
we can hear you, Ryan.
Good. So what you're saying is we will, as a business that maybe does business in multiple counties, multiple municipalities, we will now also have to track all of our business in other counties separately. So there is an overhead to businesses, especially businesses that do cross county lines, and tracking whether or not these counties have a sales tax or not, and separating out sales across these county borders, right?
So, you are correct. It'll be, up to the business to track where their sales are occurring. It's no different than with the municipal sales tax right now. If you're a business and you make sales in, multiple municipalities in different counties, you have to report that to the department to ensure that the right municipalities are getting the tax revenue. This would be similar, yes, where you would have to, as a business owner, have, an idea of what counties have implemented this tax, and make sure that, if I'm making a sale in Yankton County and they've done this, that I'm collecting the 1/2 cent county tax for Yankton County and reporting that to the department. So yes, it will be, an additional requirement for the businesses as far as their, paperwork. But it would be similar to what's already happening with municipal tax.
So you're going to have checking on these businesses as well then? How are you going to hold the businesses accountable to all these new taxes?
Yep. So, it'll just be part of our current process where we work with businesses to make sure that they're complying with all of the tax laws. As part of our audit process, when we audit businesses, we're checking not only for state sales tax, but also local sales taxes. So that we, something that if we were auditing, a business, and we knew that they did business in a county that had a county sales tax, we'd also be auditing for that to make sure that they were collecting the tax properly. But really, it'd just be part of our regular educational work that we do with all sales tax licensees to ensure that they understand what the new requirements are and that they're reporting the tax properly.
Do you know how many city sales tax districts or whatever, how would you say, different sales tax districts do you track now in the state of South Dakota?
It's a lot. It's probably upwards of 300. I think we have around 300 municipalities that have a city sales tax.
Okay. So you're looking at increasing the number of taxes that you're going to track by about 20% in this law.
If every county were to move forward with this, yeah, it would be somewhere around there. I don't anticipate that all counties will do this, to be perfectly honest. I think there are many counties that will choose not to do this, but yeah, I mean, if every county chose to do this, yeah, we would add 66 new taxing jurisdictions, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Going once? Sure.
No, you gotta.
Get on the camera.
Yeah.
Now there's proof.
I'm shot, baby. Well, my name is Todd Christens. I live in Turner County. Well, I just want you guys in the commission to realize there's gonna be a lot of people not coming if you would pass this law. Because say you're gonna buy something that's substantial, gonna have extra tax. So it isn't it isn't a very good deal. And you cut one and you pay the other.
Down to the one oh, god dang it.
It doesn't make a whole lot of
guy
sense.
and they're
Cut
trying to
one
like
and do
snap
the
this
other
off
way,
like
you're probably gonna
there's
pay
no
more.
burden to
Ryan,
a
can you
business to
mute
track
your-
more sales tax.
Ryan, can you mute your self for a moment?
All right, that's my main concern,
Yeah.
you're gonna have people, whether it's here, the next county, if some don't do it, people are gonna not shop in your town or the county where they opt out. So I don't think it'd be a good idea at all to do the tax and the nightmare. I know I got sales tax I pay, and I can't believe if you have a lot of business, you're gonna have a mess to do your taxes too.
Do you think, Todd, if somebody goes to the lake and they buy $100 worth of beer and they have to pay 50 cents extra, they say, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna drive to Springfield.
Yeah, but what
To
about
put-
if you go buy something that's $5,000, like say I'm gonna come
Like what?
to Yankton,
Like
well,
what?
something that's taxable. A
Like-
lawnmower, I believe you pay tax on,
Hmm.
correct? So if I went to town and bought a lawnmower, went to John Deere, bought a $10,000 lawnmower, that's more than 50 cents.
Mhm.
I could drive to Freeman, Beresford, go on to John Deere and pay no tax.
Yeah.
So I guess, there's a lot more decision to think, and they
Sure.
come with property
No,
tax.
I
A
get
lot
it.
of times it turns into be more money and stuff. And
Yeah.
there's other things you could buy that are taxable that people just shop elsewhere. So, you got a lot of decisions to
Yeah.
make. It isn't all as good as everybody thinks it is. That's, I guess, my main concern anyway.
Thank you. We
bet.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. Going twice, 3 times. All right. Thanks, Secretary Hoddenscheid and Shell, I'm sorry, and appreciate your time this evening, and thank you.
Yep, not a problem. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move along. We've got an approval for a grant application from our ambulance service.
Welcome.
Jeff Brown with the ambulance. So we're applying for a couple of grants. The grants are through the Department of Health. It's a federal grant being facilitated by the Department of Health. They're asking for services that are going to be supporting rural areas for ambulances and hospitals. So that's what if you're applying for these grants, you need to be supportive of that. We've broken them up into 2 categories. And so the reason I'm bringing them to you guys, it's a pretty substantial amount. So we've got about $750,000 in applications that we're going to be submitting. It's 100% reimbursed back to us once we spend the money. So we have to spend the money, get reimbursed. That reimbursement takes 3 to 6 or 8 weeks. So we just want to make sure we're keeping track of that and you guys are aware of that. The first grant is an education hub. So we're trying to build an interdepartment where we would offer EMT classes, paramedic classes, critical care paramedic classes, and different EMS education through that. The grant's going to cover a high fidelity simulator that's about $125,000, and all of the wages for all the staff for teaching in that department.
How many extra staff are we talking about?
It's going to be 1 full-time role and then just per diem staff that we already have that would come in to help. So it's just the grant's going to cover the wages for that year period of the grant. So the nice thing about the way these are set up is this is a good proof of concept for us to see if that's going to be a viable department to keep going after the grant period. So it covers all of the wages and all of the supplies and all of the education equipment that we're going to get that department up and running. If we elect not to move forward, if it's not financially advantageous for us to continue, we get to keep the equipment, obviously, that we purchased through the grant. So we've gained $125,000 mannequin and supplies, for our department. The other grant that we're applying for is a regional transfer ambulance. So the premise of this is that we would take this, one of our ambulances, and it would be dedicated to transfers only. And we would increase the acuity level of the patient we're able to handle. So we'd increase to critical care. We would have to hire some per diem employees for that. They wouldn't be full-time employees with benefits or something like that. The grant money is going to cover the wages for that expense. The transfer ambulance would cover all of the transfers that they can during the period that they're staffed that run out of Avera. So it's going to leave our 911 ambulances more available to run 911 calls in town and in the county while they're doing transfers. We're also going to try to use it as a business development option where we can go out to other hospitals and pick up other transfers. We're also looking to do critical care transfers out of this ambulance, which we don't do currently. So we're hoping that it's going to be a pretty good source of revenue for us if we get it running. So the total for that grant is $511,000.
Say again, that total?
$511,000 for that grant. That grant's going to purchase all of the equipment for our ambulance. It's going to bring that critical care ambulance up and running.
Will it purchase the ambulance itself or?
No, it doesn't purchase the ambulance itself, but what we're applying for is a power cot, power load.
Don't we have that? Don't we have that?
We have one ambulance without it. So we're using the grant to bring that ambulance up to par with what it needs.
Is that the oldest one?
Yeah, that's our oldest one.
Is that gonna be too old of an ambulance?
Well, the ambulances can be cycled through, so we don't have to use that specific ambulance. What we're trying to do is use the grant to bring the equipment up to par that we need. So we get to keep that equipment. So that's all money that we're not going to be spending in the general fund to bring that ambulance up to par down the road. So, and if we do buy a new ambulance, all of that equipment can come off and go onto the new ambulance and we buy a new ambulance.
No, and I guess I appreciate, what you're trying to do. You're trying to generate more revenue, but the concern I see is that, now we're basically at our expense, and yeah, we'll get some grant money. Now we're gonna become a regional ambulance for the whole area. And I tell you, the federal government grants are drying up, everybody. I mean, we realize that. I mean, I got an article right here where the Office of Business Management in DC is passing legislation later this month where they can cancel any grant at any time. And so I think we're going to end up in a situation where we're going to become a regional hub and there's going to be no funding. Once this grant dries up, we're going to have all these extra employees and all these other communities. I mean, what did I see? Viborg and Freeman and
Yeah,
all
so
of
they're
that.
not a first in option for all of the outside
Yeah.
areas. We're primarily going to be covering Yankton.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be available if there's no other option and the unit's available
Yeah.
to help out with other transfers. There's no commitment to us to continue this program beyond the grant.
Well, but look at when we tried to not service, portions of Irene and all of that, there was uproar. So once we take over this service, it's going to be ours forever. We're not ever going to get rid of it. And it was a few months ago where we decided we're going to service, 5 miles outside of our border. I mean, it was a 4-1 vote. And so we're servicing, all sorts of communities now. I mean,
Right. And if you look at our revenue is up to $333,000 this quarter. And we were sitting at $260,000.
but I don't think what we're not including is the wear and tear on the ambulances.
Sure.
Now that we're driving all over, we're going to have to replace them more often. I've had some comments from people I know on the ambulance that they're feeling like they're, going to burn out. And, 2 of our crews are volunteer, right? So how often can we be calling these volunteer crews off of their work and their other duties? And what I think is going to happen if we do this, we might generate some more revenue, but sooner or later, we're going to have a bunch more full-time staff to cover that. And that's all on Yankton County's expense. And I get where you're coming from. I understand it, but there's a reason counties with the exception don't run ambulances because we can't afford it. And now we're massively going to expand on, I think, what a business model that is not sustainable. I appreciate what you're doing. We can't hear
Dan,
you.
Can I interject?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. So in the past 6, maybe longer months, have read multiple studies and articles, and a common theme is rural ambulances are struggling, whether it's private, where there's private subsidized by county, whether it's county run, which yes, there's very few county run, but it gets to the crux of the problem is ambulances are not a profit model. You can't run private companies like profit models. That works in the cities, large population centers. They can run with a profit model. We are rural, and there's just no way around it. You say that, oh yeah, a lot of the other counties don't run ambulance services, but they subsidize them. They do subsidize them to a lot, and that's very common. And that's essentially what we're doing. We have a county-run ambulance that needs support to the tune of $200,000 to $300,000 a year. And you talk about regionality. Well, yes, we are regionality, and the only way we can actually make this ambulance somewhat maybe be somehow closer to a net zero is to make sure that we encompass a region that also keeps our crews busy enough that the money comes into balance. We've been a regional ambulance for a long time. That's nothing new. And so I feel like we've always been a regional ambulance, and trying to get support as a regional ambulance seems like sense.
Something that actually just happened today in Pennington County. The Pennington County ambulance is no longer going to go into the rural areas because they can't afford it. That happened last year with Davidson County as well. I know I'm going to lose this. It's going to be a 4-1 vote, but this is massively expanding government. We're going to become now a regional. And okay, if we're going to become regional, let's sign agreements with Turner and Hutchinson and all these other counties.
We're not looking to regionalize our 911 system. We're looking to regionalize a transfer ambulance that's going to go after revenue generating product. We're not going after 911 calls, and that's where the money is in ambulances. We've proven that in the past quarter. The first quarter, we had $260,000 in revenue. We now have $333,000 in revenue.
But it's also frustrating that we're doing all these transfers for these large nonprofit company, you know, Avera is the largest employer, has a lot more money than Yankton County. Why aren't they involved in the ambulance system?
I
It's
don't
it's not
disagree
fair.
with you
They
on that.
don't pay any property taxes, and now we're gonna run a multi-million-dollar ambulance for organization that pays no property
We
tax.
do it because that's where our money is. That's where we get. our
I
money.
I don't think we're understanding because we're gonna have to add staff. Okay, it's always
It's
more than
minimal
we think,
staff. It's
so.
per diem staff. We're not
I
looking to
don't-
hire full-time employees.
And I don't think we're considering all these extra transfers, more wear and tear on our equipment, more wear and tear on our personnel, and I don't think we're factoring that in. So I've said my piece and I just don't think this, for long-term sustainability of our ambulance system, I don't think this is gonna work out, but it's what I have to say on that. So thank you. Appreciate you looking for
My
options.
counter on this is the wear and tear on ambulances and people happen because we are trying to guarantee a service to our county. And unfortunately, and maybe actually more fortunately and thankfully, our county does not generate enough ambulance business to support the guaranteed service.
Yeah, right now,
Expanding that
Dan,
means we get, you know, that we can capture and keep our crews busy so that at least our wear and tear and our crews are doing things. The worst thing is to be paying for equipment sitting there still and paying for crews sitting there waiting for a call.
I guess I'd be more concerned about we're trying to run all of these transfers for surrounding counties and then there's nobody available when we have.
that's why there's a
multiple
transfer.
accidents.
That's why we're putting a transfer ambulance on so that our 911 system has the coverage it needs.
What county, where would the location likely be to
So,
service us? Yeah,
We're gonna go where we're requested.
no, I'm saying if we don't do it, where would we likely have to go?
So what happens for the patients that get stuck in these rural facilities is they get flown out. So they would either get a $2,500 ambulance bill or a $60,000 flight bill. That's what happens. So there's a huge benefit to the consumer that we are going in with the same service, taking them from point A to point B for a fraction of the cost of what it's costing them to get flown from here to there with a lower risk. So this solves problems for the customer. It solves problems for the rural hospitals, helps them get patients out. Helicopters can't fly in weather. They can't fly when it's high wind, you know, all of that stuff. So people get stuck in facilities and they don't get the care they need. So we're just trying to find ways to generate revenue that support our ambulance. We have capital expenses that we can't pay for. We don't have a budget for. We've been talking about that. This grant purchases $200,000 worth of equipment that we don't have in the general fund to pay for the ambulance.
And we have no way, once we purchase this and the grant runs out, we're not gonna have any way to replace it then as well.
Well, we need to buy it anyway, so it doesn't.
But I'm
doesn't-
saying I mean, and this is what happens always with grants, is we get the grant, we get the extra people, the grant goes away, and then now we're stuck with even more responsibility.
We haven't applied for a grant like this here, so do you have an example of when we've?
Yeah, I guess that big rescue truck that we have at emergency management that we got, and now it needs to be replaced, and it's $700,000 or $800,000 to
That's not
replace
the
it.
ambulance. though.
I know, but that's an example of a grant that we got, and now we have difficulty paying for it, so.
And yet we pursued millions of dollars of grants for a Stone Church Bridge. That, you know, so grants are
Thought you liked
grants.
that bridge, Ryan.
So can I get a motion to approve the
I
application for the?
Move to approve applying for the grants for the ambulance service.
Second,
Brian, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
For further discussion, I guess if we're gonna be going and doing all of these things throughout. the
We don't even
region.
know if we got the grant
Well,
accepted yet.
but
So
I know
we're
if
sending
we
in
do-
the
If
application
we
at this
do
point
that,
right
I
now.
think we need to have some sort of use agreement with all these surrounding communities that we're doing services for. So that's all I have to say and ready to vote on it. So.
Okay. And I don't disagree with that at
Yeah.
all. So. Okay,
Kind of like the agreement that we have with the Veteran Service Officer in all these counties that we supply a worker for, including people out of Nebraska, like
Yeah.
those agreements?
I think
okay,
we,
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
I,
All right.
Opposed, nay.
nay,
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
thank you.
I'd move to go into Board of Adjustment.
Second,
Got a motion and a second to move into a Board of Adjustment. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
I,
All right.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion carries. Gary, you're already up at the microphone.
Good evening. We have a conditional use permit. Applicants requesting conditional use permit for a single-family dwelling in Lakeside Commercial District per Article 11, Section 1107, Article 18, Section 1805, and Article 19, Section 1905. Said property is legally described as Tract A in Lot G of Fishing Hole Number 2 and Lot 5 of Tramp 6th Edition in the northeast quarter of Section 17, Township 93 North, Range 65 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County. Applicant is here if there are any questions. If you remember this plat we did back in February.
the planning commission had recommended no conditions or anything on this, just for a single family home.
Correct.
Why don't you have them come up and
You want
Tell
to
us
step
what
up to the
is-
mic and tell us what you're going to do?
welcome, sir.
My name's Randy Taylor. The address of that building is 31107 436.
Mhm.
It is the old quarry storage building. It was a 6-unit storage building. When it was constructed back in the 90s, they put in 9-foot wide doors in each one of the bays. I don't know if any of you guys have a boat and try to put that in a 9-foot door. It's not very nice. So we decided to, if this approves, to take out 3 of the doors and convert the south end of that into a 30 by 30 single family dwelling. And then the rest of it will continue to be used as a storage building.
For public
are you
comment.
going to rent it?
I'm planning on, what we're planning on is for the immediate family to be using it. If we have a family squabble, maybe then it's going to be rented out, but for the time being,
Kids
well,
better stay in line.
well, we had the 4th of July, we had everybody down and one of them brought a camper down. One of them didn't show up because there wasn't a bed for him. So it just, it helps.
Any
I have one
public
quick question.
comments?
I have one
Go
quick
ahead, Ryan.
question.
Sure, go ahead.
So we're talking about a building now that is part storage that might be rented to other tenants, and then there's a single family home in it that's another, we'll just call it another tenant, right?
The other half that is not going to be in as a resident is going to be storage for Randy Taylor. The house that I own down here is built on a triangular lot and with setbacks on all 4 sides. I can't put a storage on my home property. So that was the reason I bought it in the first place, is because I have no place else to go for my boat.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies a lot. Thanks.
Okay. Now I'd ask for public comment. Seeing none, public comment is closed.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the conditional use request
Second,
Got a motion by Dan, second by Wanda to approve the CUP.
for the single family dwelling. Yeah, I just think this makes sense. Appreciate you investing in Yankton County. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Good luck to you.
Thank you for your time tonight.
I'd move to go back into regular session.
Motion by
Second.
Linda, second by Ryan to go back into regular session. Further discussion, hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion carries. Mr. Hunoff.
Welcome.
Well, Commissioners, so I am a member of the County Finance Task Force, and my role on that task force was to do kind of a county comparison, a peer review of counties in our size range. I started by doing the 6 counties from 19 to 31,000 population. Then I thought, that's not a great group, probably need a little more. So I made it an 11 county comparison. So it's now the counties between 15 and 37,000 population. And we're the exact middle of that database. Our population is number 6 out of those 11. So we're the median county. And I'm just going to really, this is the 12-page report that I'm going to try to give here in about 5 minutes. So we'll see how that goes. So just as we are with population, our general fund budget is in the median position in this 11 county comparison. We have 5 lower than us, 5 higher than us. In terms of our road and bridge budget, 3 have a lower budget, 7 have a higher budget. And in terms of the amount of carryover cash we assign to our 2026 budget, we are right in the median position there also at 23%. 5 had a larger percentage, 5 had a smaller percentage. This next point I think is important. Yankton County's 2026 general fund spending is the second lowest, as far as per capita property taxes at $352 per resident. Only Hughes County was lower. They were at $349, so they beat us by $3. But we compared very well. I think it shows that we are trying to stretch those county tax dollars. Clay County, for example, is $480 per person. Union County and Brown County are both $502 per person. So I think we're doing our best to be efficient. Moving on to the next page. I wanted to point out something that I don't think the commission has received enough credit for, and that's the budget cut that you executed last year for the 2026 spending plan. As you can see in the 11 county comparison there at the top of page 2, all of the other counties, their budgets increased this year compared to 2025, and they increased by an average of 1.5 million. Our budget went down by 3.7 million. 2 million of that was from the general fund. 1.7 million was from the highway fund budget. And so that's 16%. And I just doubt there's very many counties in the state that have a 2026 budget 16% smaller than their 2025 budget. On to the third page. This has some of the information that the secretary from Department of Revenue spoke about as far as.
Here, could we get some of this up on the screen, please? Thank you. Good information.
For our at-home viewers.
Yes.
It's on the packet.
Well, while he's doing that, right?
No,
what's
that's
the
okay.
Source of the information.
Pardon me?
What's the source of your information?
Well, I'll tell you what, I spent about 300 hours in the last few months
I believe.
digging into South Dakota Department of Revenue sites, South Dakota Department of Labor, Secretary of State. I've called every county on this list, probably at least a half a dozen times to talk to various officials to get things cleared up. And so the source of my information is a combination of my own research plus information from state websites plus phone calls to the counties. And there's also a county study that you're probably aware of called the Green Book. Some of my numbers came from that. So county debt, I think we're actually in pretty good shape there. A lot of counties are facing very expensive building projects, particularly courthouse or jail projects. And our courthouse, jail, law enforcement center, and also our highway shop and our office building here are all in very good shape and all paid for. The one infrastructure issue we have, of course, is the Jim River bridges.
and we've gotten a start on those. Hopefully this road and bridge levy will survive and we can start a fund to plan for the other 3. But I think in debt, we can say we're in probably better shape than a lot of counties. Page 4 is just a lot of our revenue sources. The first column is our 7-figure revenue sources. The next 2 are our 6-figure revenue sources, and all the revenue on that page adds up to 22 million as far as 2025. Page 5, how am I doing on my 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman?
You're you're good.
All right.
Showing good information.
So
You'll be done before Gary gets it put up on the floor.
probably. So page 5, I wanted to talk just a little bit. The middle bracket there is about our general fund balances. And a lot of people have pointed with alarm to the fact that our general fund balance seems to be dropping over the last few years, but they're comparing it to our 2021 to 2025 balances. Those were skewed and inflated by federal COVID dollars. If you look at our current balances this year in 2026, we're right in line with where we were from 2015 to 2020. And I could just use the May 31st example. Our May 31st average balance from 2015 to 2020 was 6.2 million. At the end of this past May, it was 6.7 million. So I think we've fallen back into line now that the COVID money is kind of settled and passed through.
And Brian, on that, like, this was the last year to spend those COVID dollars, 2026, so they all had to be expended or they would have reverted back. So I know there was some comments made that we should keep those funding, but you can't keep it. It had to be expended, so.
That's not all this. So now I'm on page 6. Okay. Page 6 is per capitas and percents. A lot of this information did come from the green book that Dan held up. In terms of general government cost per person, we're excellent. Only 2 of the 11 counties were lower than we were on a per capita basis. In terms of public safety cost per person, we're doing pretty well. 6 are higher than us. Health and welfare cost per person, we are by far the highest. And I'm sure you can all guess the reason for that is the fact that we are the only county in the state that entirely funds the ambulance service. Property tax as percent of revenue, 3 were lower than us, 7 were higher. And down here below our contingency budget there is about in the middle of where the others are. That's the budget we use, to cover budgets that go over at the end of the year. One budget I'm kind of concerned about, honestly, is our IT budget, and I'm sure Ryan is aware of this, but it's running well beyond its budget right now at the half-year mark. So hopefully we can rein those costs in here in the second half of the year. Moving on to page 7, I wanted to talk a little bit about our highway department. So our highway department budget is 5.5 million this year, and we have 17.5 FTEs. And the reason I want to point that particular number out is I think there are a lot of people that have a misconception that when we put those COVID dollars into our highway budget, we hired more people. That wasn't the case. We used that money to pay for projects, but we are actually 2 FTEs less than we were prior to COVID. We had 19, right now we have 17. I wanted to talk a little bit about the number of county miles that we maintain. So we maintain 510 miles of county road, and that comes out to about 1 mile of county road per square mile. And that's much more than most. This is due partly to the fact that 7 of our 16 townships are unorganized and they become our responsibility. But most other counties in our study maintain an average of either 1/3 to 1/2 mile of county road maintained per square mile. So that's a huge difference. And it's another discrepancy, I think, that makes a good argument for the road and bridge levy that you approved last week.
Well, like, look at Clay, which is the smallest county in the state. They're 6.4 million and they made 250 miles. We're at 5.5 and maintain more than, almost double that. So
I would just take this moment to say that I think our highway crew led by Mike Sedlacek does a great job of getting the best bang for their buck that we can get. Ambulance, we talked about that a minute ago. If you look at the chart at the bottom of page 8, it shows that our 2026 ambulance budget is 1.5 million. In 2025, we had 1.1 million in revenue. And in 2024, our ambulance costs were 1.4 million. Then you look at all those other counties and there's just very negligible amounts, if any, that they have to spend on ambulance. So I'll echo something I heard either Dan or Ryan say, and I have said this at multiple task force meetings to both task force. I really think, I hope one of the recommendations from at least one of those task forces is that we formally request that the city and Avera allocate some funds to help us make up our shortfall. You know,
Exactly.
this new road levy is going to yield 213,000 for city. This is money they didn't spend any political capital to get. It's money they didn't expect. It'd be nice to see if they would give some of that windfall back to the county for our ambulance. All right. The rest of this is just a lot of department budgets. I'm sure I've gone over time. There's some census information comparing us. And that's really all I have, unless you have a question or two.
Brian, what would you think the process should be should we put something on the agenda to formally request funds from the city? And
Well, I know the finance task force is going to discuss recommendations on Thursday, and I'll go to that meeting and encourage them to make that part of their list. If they don't, yeah, I think the county commission has to take the lead then. And
you know, I agree, because it's just, to me, it's just not fair. Those entities, you would think we'd all want to be contributing to something that does so much good for our community.
well, it's an essential life-saving service. And, you know, the city, frankly, I've been paying attention to local government now for about 45, 50 years. And the city has consistently come up with reasons they don't think they should have to, but I'd remind them it's not a county mandated service. It's something we sort of reluctantly absorbed. And, you know, I think they and Avera could, for instance, both allocate 100,000 each, but make up a large share of our shortfall. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you,
great
Brian,
information.
for putting this together for us. And for public's information, this is this information is in the packet, so you go to our website and look at that.
Gary, do you think we could take this presentation and have it placed like on the website, maybe, so people don't have to dig through the packet? Because you could tell there was a lot. Yeah, I thank you, Patty, because there's a lot of good information, and I know you spent a lot of time researching it, and I think it does people good to go through and look at the numbers. So thank you for that.
Next item, request to re-advertise ditch cleaning bid for Clay Creek ditch.
Do we just need a motion?
Gary, did we not receive any bids? Is that what it was, or not bid? Okay.
I would move to re-advertise the ditch cleaning bid for
Second.
Clay Creek ditch.
Motion by Wanda, second by Dan, to re-advertise the ditch cleaning bid for Clay Creek ditch. Any further discussion?
No, I get, just so everybody realizes that that fund comes out of the Clay, which is a separate board, Clay Creek Ditch.
Board.
And we do that every year in March. So that's where those funds will come out of. So.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carried.
Should we have gone into ditch board to do that, Patty?
No.
No.
I would move to change the commission meeting from September 15, 2026 to September 17, 2026, due to, I would guess, a majority of the commissioners being out of town on the 15th.
Motion by Wanda, second by,
Rob, can we do a motion since it wasn't on the agenda?
We added it at the
We
beginning.
added it.
Don't need a motion.
Okay, no motion.
Well, then why did we add it?
so that it gets put in the minutes.
Right.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay, approve,
So do we assume that it's approved then? It's moved?
yes.
Okay.
So mark your calendar for the 17th of September instead of the 15th.
Alyssa will put something online for that. Thank you.
It'll be advertised like it always is.
Approve to publish the moratorium on data centers. Any discussion? Rob, where do you think we're at on a moratorium?
Right. Where are we at on a moratorium? I think if you want to initiate a moratorium, you can. I think the proposal that Ryan put together looked good, fine. It's something you can do. It honestly, what happens is you don't have to put an end date to it because whatever you decide to do, that'll determine how that moratorium works. You know, for length of time, it's good for 1 year. You can re-up it for another year, but anytime before that, the commission can respond and put in place whatever conditions or restrictions you want.
So Ryan did mention that he would add in the resolution to end once the ordinance was complete and
Yeah.
approved by the city. The
And
county
John, that
commission.
happens automatically. It's okay to put it in the right. I don't have a problem with it.
I
but
think it's
It
in there.
happens automatically. It's probably in there because we were gonna add it.
Well, I did note that apparently the Utica North Township felt compelled to advertise in the newspaper that they were going to seek a moratorium on data centers, battery storage facilities, pipelines, and methane biogesters, whatever those are. I don't know that I'm saying it right, but I saw that in today's paper.
I would need a motion on this to approve to publish a moratorium on data centers.
I so move.
Got a motion by Ryan. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by second by Wanda. Any further discussion?
What size are we doing these on then? Or is that on everything or
This
what?
is for, no, this is for anything over 250 kilowatts, which means any small business that is building a server room is not going to be affected. This is for large data processing so that we can have law put together that is done with calm and reasonable heads. I fear if we do not pass this moratorium tonight, we will be facing a petition to straight out ban data centers, and it could be language that would be detrimental to other businesses. If we are not in front of this, we are going to be handcuffed and behind it.
Ryan, I don't know that everybody understands that this is just a motion to publish it in the newspaper. It's not necessarily a motion to
Approve a moratorium at this point in time.
yeah, to approve a moratorium. It's to give some time to publish it in the newspaper so people have a voice. But I would like to know, how big is the one
We've
that's
been
over?
talking about this for weeks, though.
I understand. We're
It's
just
supposed to
moving
be
to publish it. We're not moving to approve it because that's not what's that's not what's in the packet.
Well, as of today, there is a petition moving around to actually ban data centers. So if any of you think that we want to have that in our future, or to make sure that we can make a calm and reasonable zoning around this, then we need to move on this, or we are going to let knee-jerk reaction be the voice of our county.
It has to be published for 10 days, correct, Rob?
The notice.
To the hearing today, which we did comply with. So there should have been, Patty, I'm pretty sure we did, but we had to provide 10 days notice prior to a hearing to have a hearing on us being the county commission deciding on how to proceed. The moratorium doesn't have to be published. That doesn't have to be published.
The moratorium doesn't.
No. The
notice
If we
does.
approve it, then we follow the procedures and publish it and follow the publication requirements. But we don't have to publish it prior to approval. We don't, only the notice of the hearing is all we need to do. That's all we have to do.
Isn't that what
we
the
are
motion
clear
was
to
for?
Approve a moratorium tonight. Right, Rob?
That's not what was put in the packet.
Actually, it's not in the packet.
Yeah, all that's on the agenda is to approve the opportunity to publish a moratorium on data centers, not to approve a moratorium on data centers, which would seem to me to be a difference.
Well, it's clearly a difference. That's why I said something to you. That's not
I
what was being
I
said.
think you and I are on the same page.
Yeah. So I guess the question.
I am going to be, I'm going to tell you, there is going to be some very upset people.
The requirement is 10 days notice prior to the hearing for the commission to determine whether emergency measures are necessary, which is the moratorium request or the moratorium position.
Publication request.
Yeah.
The last
That's all it
meeting,
is.
I was adamant to have this moratorium to be voted on this meeting. I wanted it to be on the emergency meeting, but we pushed it back to this meeting.
Mr.
So
Chair.
where is the accountability for the publication here of adding publish into the agenda when often our agendas are very vague?
Dan, you had a.
Yeah, I mean,
comment?
I think here in citizen feedback, we need to update our zoning ordinance. That's how I feel. I mean, there was some really good concerns brought up. And so I think if we're able to do this, Mr. State's Attorney, I'd say we should task our planning commission to right away begin work on our zoning ordinance to include data centers. And that's something we can do now, right?
And put a time limit on it.
Yeah, I think our planning commission
We need a
should get
moratorium
back to us
tonight.
when, can I
Right
finish,
now-
please? Mr. Chair.
Time
the
out.
floor.
We got, Dan's got the
So,
floor
so,
right
I mean,
now.
this is separate. We can vote on that later, but right now, I mean, even if we did a moratorium, we're still gonna need to get our rules in place. So from the last meeting that we had, the citizens were saying they had concerns, which I thought were warranted. They wanted setbacks, noise levels, those types of things. So I would say we task our planning commission tonight with start working on a plan to include data centers. I'd say they need to be conditional use permits, right? To allow the public to know what's going on. I think that makes sense. We also need to address the other things I would ensure the planning commission works on is conditional use permit to allow public input. Data centers, they shouldn't be allowed in residential areas. I think we all agree on that. I think we need to have appropriate setbacks to protect our residents. A closed loop system should be required, in my opinion. That's something we heard over and over again. Why would we waste our precious clean water? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Why would we throw it away? So that needs to be a requirement. Other things that were brought up is noise level needs to be addressed by the planning commission. And we shouldn't be harming our residents with unnecessary loud noises from data centers or generators. There should be visual screening. And then we need to, this is something the planning commission really has to work on, is some sort of system to make sure that data centers don't shift the electrical costs onto our residents. So I think that's important. A plan for electricity usage and power consumption. And then finally, the planning commission needs to have some sort of decommissioning plan. I think that needs to be addressed. These things maybe last 20 years, maybe less. If they come in and they go bankrupt, it shouldn't be on the backs of the county or the residents to dismantle them. And I think we did a good job of that with the wind turbines by requiring a bond. And, you know, we're gonna have to do that regardless if we do this moratorium or not. But I would say, let's start working on it now and task the planning commission with doing that. So
Rob, so we have to put in the newspaper when we're going to have the hearing to discuss that.
Has to be 10 days in
Chairman?
advance.
I get,
May I
I
have the
get that.
floor?
I get that. I just want to make sure we're not
I don't-
fighting over nothing here.
So I have a motion and a second to approve to publish the moratorium on data centers.
Chairman, can I have the floor?
You may, for discussion, yes.
My motion is to approve a moratorium. That is what I understood my motion was for, is to approve a moratorium. The last general meeting, I brought forth the moratorium to be published, and it was published, but we couldn't. So we've already published it. We've already talked about it. And we said we had to have 10 days. So here we are. And it was supposed to be a hearing on a moratorium. Now, for some reason, that got switched up in the back channels here. So first off, this should be a moratorium. We need a moratorium because currently any commercial property in Yankton County can be permitted for a data center of any size, of any type, without any public input, without any commission input, without any hearing whatsoever, just a rubber stamp from our planning and zoning administrator. Right now. Now, Dan's speech about what the planning commission needs to put together in the zoning laws clearly exhibit why we need to have a task force to actually work through the actual facts, because multiple things that he suggested are very vague. They do not reflect the technology. They do not reflect what's happening out there now, and it doesn't protect us. I want a task force that's going to actually create a good law, not a knee-jerk reaction law, not one that bans data centers, but one that makes sure that we can have the right data centers in our county that works for our community, works for our nation, and doesn't hurt our residents. That's going to take time. If we want that to happen, we need a moratorium to be passed tonight. Any further delay, we already have a petition out there to ban them. So it's your choice. We can either have the moratorium passed and we can work through and have reasonable input, or we will have a voter pushed ban. I mean, I've already seen it on Facebook tonight. The ban's out there.
And the question you would have is, was notice proper at the time of the 10 days? And if it's not, then my recommendation is we can't do it because you know what I mean? We're not following the procedures and that's a requirement. So
we can make it effective tonight to publish for the 10-day hearing on the moratorium.
Yeah, and then have a hearing.
And we can have a special meeting in 10 days.
Yep. And Jen, I agree.
Rather than 14 days. That's your recommendation, and that's what I have. Brian, do you want to withdraw that motion then for the moratorium, or?
No, my motion is for a moratorium passed tonight.
Wanda?
I thought it was to publish the moratorium.
Ryan,
Still have the hearing. There are a lot of laws I don't particularly care for. The one that says I can only drive 80 miles an hour on the interstate, not a fan, but that's what the law is. So I think we need to follow the law. So 10 more days is not going to kill us.
Ryan, I don't know if you heard the state's attorney. He didn't advise us to move forward with this because of notification. I don't know if you heard that or not.
And I was emailed from him that everything was looking good. My motion tonight, and I'm making that motion, and that is my motion. My motion is to pass the moratorium on data centers.
You want to
Motion
withdraw your
on the
second
floor,
then?
John.
I'll withdraw the second because that's not what I thought we were doing.
I have a motion by Ryan to, can we even accept this motion, Rob?
To
Well, you can
implement,
make the motion, whether we get a
did.
second and it'll just die.
Okay. I have a motion by Ryan to pass a moratorium on data centers tonight, effective immediately. Can I get a second? Motion fails due to no second.
I would move to approve the publishing of the moratorium hearing date so that we can actually get it on the books and start talking about it pursuant to statute.
And would you make that hearing date on the 17th by chance?
I'll make it whatever day you tell me to show up.
You have to publish,
Well,
when
but
we
if
get
you
it in the
show
paper,
up, so
just gotta make sure we get it in the paper.
Right. Okay, so I have a motion by Wanda to approve the publish the moratorium on data centers. Can I get a second?
I would second that motion, to keep things going. But I still want a time limit on
Yeah.
the completion of it. I had a number of calls, talked to a number of people, and it's raised a lot of thoughts in my mind that I hadn't thought of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
I think we need to do it. I
one
guess,
of the things is water consumption. It's a big,
Issue.
a big divide on what's true and what isn't true on that,
electrical rates.
especially depending on the size.
Some of the conversations too I had with the planning commission is, you know, we get these people who volunteer because they want to work with their community. And then when they have something like this, then we don't use them. We use, you know, and it'll take a month to probably even set up a task force where our planning commission could get started right away. You know,
Next Tuesday.
why would we appoint all these planning commissioners? And then when we have, you know, an issue like this, we don't use them. We use other people. I mean, that's, what's that?
He said next Tuesday would be next month.
Yeah.
Planning Commission.
I'm gonna
Do they
point
skip
you-
July?
Come up to the microphone,
Dan,
please.
Just a minute. Gary
hang
is
on.
walking to the microphone.
So yeah, certainly it's up to you if you decide to do task force or have planning commission do this. I believe the agenda's already been sent for next Tuesday's meeting. So it wouldn't be until next month's planning commission, the second Tuesday of the month.
They could do a special meeting too, though, couldn't they?
Still have to give notice, but yeah, they could do one in between.
Or do we do a special one and then they do it after us?
So that's the question. Do you want planning commission to focus on it? Or do you want a moratorium and a task force?
At present, I have a
John's back
motion and a
before.
second to approve the moratorium, to publish the moratorium on data centers. Is there any further
John,
discussion
can I have the
on that?
floor? John, can I have the floor?
You may.
Okay, so yet again, okay. When Dan talks about the success of the solar or of the wind farm ordinance, I point to that as an example of why we need to be very careful and we need to have the right smart people on these task forces, because these are not.
Can I interrupt
these are
just for
not,
1
these are
second,
not
Ryan?
things that can be just fixed. Sorry, John, I have the floor. Are you taking the floor from me?
For 1 minute or for 1 second, I am, yes, because the task force or the planning and to do the ordinance is not at question now. We need to vote on the publishing the moratorium, and then you can have the floor to talk about what you want to talk about. Is that
I
okay,
can keep
Ryan?
that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All in favor to publish the moratorium on data centers, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I abstain.
Motion carries. Now you may have the floor, Ryan.
So I feel we need a task force that has the right people on it to bring together the information and the facts. When Dan looks at the wind ordinance, I look at the wind ordinance that we have as a failure. It used setbacks wrongly. It failed to address technical problems. It copied from other counties that of things that didn't work. We need good laws in our zoning. And this is an issue that is more technical. For example, Dan says we require a fully closed cooling system. Does he even know that that exists? NVIDIA, the major
Weren't you on the wind
manufacturer
task
of
force that you're
AI,
criticizing, Ryan?
Dan, I have the floor, Dan. Point of order. I have the
Yes,
floor.
yes, yell some more, Ryan. You're making sense.
Dan, you're out of order. Go ahead, Ryan.
Dan, so I'm going to make a point. NVIDIA, in the recent P&D article, we had a person who talked from Thrive about a data center he worked with, and he mentioned something about a zero water cooling solution from NVIDIA that was just announced, which is completely false. What NVIDIA actually announced was the first fully enclosed water cooling solution. It's the first one ever that they're promising. Not in data centers yet. So no data center out there today has a fully 100% closed water cooling system. I know these things because I get every update from NVIDIA, the work I'm in. This is exactly the reason why we need a little bit more than just copying an ordinance from another county, because we don't know what we're looking at. A lot of people don't know what they're looking at. And I feel like to get this right, and it's important to get this right because data centers are very needed in our country. We don't want to ban them. We also don't want to let them take advantage of us. I want a good zoning law. And I think it takes a lot more careful look, calm and reasonable look at facts and truth, rather than looking at propaganda from either side. So that's why I feel like a task force is best, and we keep the task force simple and small, and we be very selective on them based on their qualifications and their biases.
Okay, so can I have the floor now, Ryan?
Yes, I give you the concede now.
Okay, so I don't think we have to decide for task force or planning and zoning board until after this next hearing on the moratorium. And then we can decide whether we're going to publish for a task force or if we're going to publish to have the planning and zoning board do the ordinance. And they will certainly have public input. You're more than welcome to advise the planning and zoning board at that time. So either way, however we do it.
Can't we,
I would,
can't we publish and say we're going to have a hearing on July 17th or whatever day we're going to have? And we're going to pick either A, a task force, or B, planning and zoning. That way it kind of encompasses
Yeah,
everything.
that's when, once we're doing the moratorium, we can make that decision also. We'd have to make that decision at that point in time also.
Well, I just don't want to get into the position where we can't do it because we didn't accurately publish it
Okay,
so that Commissioner Heine has a stroke.
we'll have it on the agenda for our special meeting on this.
What-
Our meeting. on the
What
7th.
day is it going to be? Is that 10 days? Do you count today? Or do you not count today?
You don't count today.
So it would be the 18th, not,
18th, and then,
no sooner than
That's
the
a, that's a
18th.
Saturday coming in Saturday.
so
Then do it on the
realistic.
19th or the 20th.
19th is
Do it
Sunday.
on Monday.
Monday, the 20th.
Yeah, because you can't do it on, because 10 days is 10 days. You don't count today.
What I'm saying is would it be at night? Would it be during the day? Because if we do it on the 20th, our next scheduled meeting is the 21st. Maybe that would be more appropriate than having a special meeting. Because people are used to coming in the first and third Tuesdays.
The
as
people
opposed-
that care about this issue will show up on whatever day we say. If we said Saturday, I bet they'd show up.
So you were gonna make a motion, Wanda. What day?
You don't have to do. Just a 10 days.
All I have to show, all it has to do is be published 10 days in advance.
You don't have to have a date.
Well, you.
You kind of have to have a date.
For the notice. But it.
Otherwise, it's kind of
either
worthless.
Monday or Tuesday.
It's Monday or Tuesday, Monday or
20th or
Tuesday,
21st.
20th or 21st.
So do you guys want to have?
What would you guys like? 21st.
Yeah, normal meeting.
Monday,
Tuesday.
Monday,
Oh,
ASAP, Monday.
I think it'd be better to be on a normal commission meeting because that's what people are used to. Because do we have any board of adjustment or anything else on that? It would make more sense to do it than have a special meeting for something like that. Yeah. So my
We have
vote's
pushed
the
this, we have
21st.
kicked this can down so many times. We need to do it ASAP.
Make a decision. That's why you're the chair. Make a decision on the day.
Meeting on the 21st, our normal Tuesday meeting at 6 o'clock.
Fine.
Moving on, gonna get a motion to approve our June 16, 2026 minutes.
Move to approve June 16, 2026 commission minutes.
Motion by Wanda, get a
Second.
second, second by Don to approve the June 16, 2026 minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye. I move to approve the claims. with
Opposed,
the-
nay.
Sorry, my bad.
Motion carries. Claims.
I move to approve the claims with the exception of the claim on page 1 of the claims where the sheriff is trying to make the county responsible for his legal bills in the amount of $1,365. That
Previous bill that was paid in that come out of the commissioner's professional service.
don't care. That was obviously an error. This should come out of the sheriff's budget since it's his
Yeah.
issue.
A motion by Wanda to approve the claims minus the one amount.
Can they just take it out of the sheriff's and still pay it and just,
He can pay it as long as it comes out of his budget. I don't care. But it shouldn't come out of the commissioner's budget.
okay.
Okay, so a motion by Wanda to approve the claims with the exception to move the one check from the commission's budget to the sheriff's budget.
For the Boyce Law Firm LLP in the amount of $1,365.
Okay, you got that? Second by
Second.
Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. May 2026 auditor treasurer's report, pooled cash, payroll.
Move approval of payroll.
Second.
Got a motion by Dan, second by Wanda to approve June 26 payroll. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now, May 2026 auditor treasurer report, pool cash report.
I would move to approve the May 2026 auditor treasurer pooled cash report.
Got a
Second.
motion by Wanda, second by Dan to approve the May 26 auditor treasurer report and pool cash report. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Declare item surplus. What do you got?
That's a vehicle from, Mike, just to declare, so we can.
Oh, yeah.
What are we?
It's a vehicle.
It's in the,
Yes, I see that. It's just
It is a, what year?
well, he got it from,
Sheriff's Department.
yeah.
usually they have a photo of the
There's
vehicle and
something
not.
that's,
Surplus the Ford vehicle.
Yes.
Does that work?
Yes.
Move that we surplus the Ford vehicle from the highway department due to, what is it?
they're just
Damage?
he's gonna put it on auction then.
Okay. Just
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Don to approve the surplus of the Ford vehicle from the Highway Department. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Now's the time for public comment. Yep.
Thank you for a few minutes. I am going to present you with an Article 30 ordinance for data centers. So this is not a moratorium. We are already collecting signatures on ordinances for a data center. Those are heavily researched. Commissioner Heine is not aware of it, so he's obviously thinking, I don't know where he got the moratorium idea. But this is an ordinance. Once the signatures are collected, it would probably more than likely go on the general election ballot. And once that is passed, that does become law. So I would highly recommend that you maybe consider looking at them and passing them at a commission meeting, and then we won't have to collect signatures and put it to a vote. But I do think it has very high probability of passing. So passing a moratorium is a very good idea. It puts an injunction on any data centers that would possibly be coming into the county. And I really want to argue with anyone that says there isn't anyone shopping for land. I've talked to several landowners in the Utica Township area, and they are actually been approached to have a data center come into their township. So I think that this is something that needs to be taken care of as a county, and definitely something that needs to be considered by this board. Thank you.
Public comment is open.
Yep.
Again, I'm Todd Christensen. I live in Turner County, and this moratorium you guys are talking about, we did one in Turner County. That was a big deal that stopped the wind turbines coming to Yankton, Turner County. And I know the last meeting I was here, I was under the understanding that this time you was gonna vote on a moratorium or not. And there's so much discussion about the moratorium, what we're gonna have in it. When we passed one when the commission, I should say the commission, Turner County passed it. There was no discussion that day, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. It stopped the wind people from coming into Turner County and getting a CUP. And that's where, like now when you keep kicking the ball down the road, as Ryan said, they could come in tomorrow and ask for a CUP. You got nothing on your books. It says they can't come in. And that's where I would think you would want to get ahead of the game before that way. And then I know you're talking about just the moratorium on data centers, but I was told by a guy in Turner County that where they was going to build a transformer for the wind people, they want to build a battery storage facility. He said next era told them that. Well, that's right by Pearson's Corner where the maps you had from there. So I think you need to have something about battery storage also in your deal. And I I mean, in their moratorium. And once you put the moratorium in Turner County, it was stopped for a year. If we wouldn't have wanted to do nothing, they couldn't have did a thing in there because you could end up having a mess like we got in Turner County with that rendering plant. That's a complete disaster. The county was suing the rendering people. Well, the rendering people won. Now it's back in litigation. It's gonna cost us Turner County taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars. So you seriously need to get some good plan for the data centers that come or the battery system. And I don't quite understand either one real well, but I was told though that the battery, and I read a little bit, that the battery systems are bad news because if you get on fire, you can't get them out. So I think you highly recommend. And I was in Parker today myself, and that's a different county. And I asked them to seriously consider putting moratorium on these also, both things that you guys should strongly consider anyway. But no, that's what I guess, but the moratorium though needs to be done sooner than later, because if your people come in here and they were here last week nosing around, or last meeting, that, you know, it's asking questions. So if they come in tomorrow and want a CUP, you got nothing on your books, just like we don't in Turner County. They'll come in here and they'll have what they want, and then you could have a mess, more than you ever want to deal with. I guess that's my main concern, to hopefully get things resolved. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. Anyone else wish to speak? Hearing none, public comment is closed.
I think we need to move into executive session.
Yes, we do. Can I get a motion?
That's a motion.
Got a motion by Wanda, second by
Second.
Dan to move into executive session. Opposed, nay? Motion carries.
I move that we go back into regular session.
Second.
Got a motion by Wanda, second by Don to go back into regular session.
Do we vote on that?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What did we vote on?
Going back into regular session.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye. I voted in
And
favor.
no action was taken during regular session. However, I would move that the county pay county welfare burial number 26.02.002 for a funeral in the amount of $1,250.
Second.
Motion by Wanda, second by Dan to approve the burial.
We don't have any choice. We got to do it. So.
Any further discussion?
Now, next item for next agenda, you want to still have SB 96?
I think we're going to
Discussion on-
talk about moratorium.
I need a vote on the burial. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And are you gonna have that resolution for the South Dakota fit and everything next
As soon
meeting?
as she sends it,
Okay. Okay, and
Now, is that,
look at it.
is that something that, a proposal, a request for proposal or whatever they call
No.
it?
That would be the resolution, right?
now resolution and investment policy you need.
Yeah.
Any other things for next meeting's agenda?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Dan, second by Wanda to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion